Okay, so today we're going to actually go over a demo of MailMover, which is our application designed to migrate and move mail content from one platform to another or from one mailbox to another. In this demonstration, we'll be looking at these two source mailboxes, both being hosted on two different Office 365 tenants. First one being for, I'll actually make it a little bit bigger so you can see. It's going to be for Michael Scott at sourcetenant.com. And the next one is going to be for Michael Scott at targettenant.com. All right, so we have an empty mailbox in the target and a mailbox full of content and test messages in the originating account, right? So if we take a look at it, we got some test message content, etc. We're going to be moving that with MailMover. So we're going to go ahead and open up MailMover. First thing you'll notice is we have a couple different providers that you can sign in with. The first one we're going to be using is Google. So it's going to pass you over to our Google Cloud account. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in with my Gmail account to authenticate. And it's going to go ahead and log you in to MailMover. So when you first log in, you won't have any users or anything like that set up. But what you're going to want to go ahead and do is in the top right-hand corner, you can come down here to Environments. So with environments, the whole point of an environment is to give you a set of credentials that you can use to migrate one or more mailboxes. So in an enterprise environment where you might have an admin account that has access to 1,000 different mailboxes, you can use the same set of credentials to access them and move the mail, so you don't have to provide credentials to everybody's mailbox. So what happens is you go ahead and hit the plus sign over here. You can come down and give this an environment name. So this will be test environment. And then you give it an endpoint type. And the endpoint type basically is just what we use to figure out what system the mailbox is located in, right? Whether it's Gmail, G Suite, Office 365, or in this case, other, which we haven't implemented yet, but the idea is to be able to support IMAP as a migration mechanism, which is kind of just a standard protocol for connecting to a mailbox. So in this case, we'll go ahead and pick Office 365, and we're just going to call this, source environment, if you will. And this would be the admin account. I'm just going to say admin@admin.com, and then, ABC12345. That allows us at that point to use that environment. So here is the one I just created. As you can see, we kind of mask out the admin password once it's been entered, so you can't view it. But we do right now allow you to edit it. So if you do go back into edit, we'll kind of decrypt it and show it to you so you can actually tell what's going on if you needed to update it or change anything like that. So in this case, we're going to be actually using this demo tenant here for our Michael Scott user. He actually is an admin, has rights to everybody's mailbox. And we also have his target tenant, which is a different tenant as well, same person. So those are the ones we're going to use for demo purposes. So when we come back into dashboards, you'll notice I have some people loaded up in here. And what's nice about it is you can go ahead and actually grab these headers here and filter based on the environment. So if I want to see the users that are from a particular environment, right, and maybe move a few of those, I can then select an action down here, right? So you have some ways of doing filtering, right? I can also filter it based on source and target environment, right? And then I also have the ability here as well to export to a CSV file. So that would basically give you a list of the files. You open them up, right? And we essentially get our list of users and what we kind of have their states at in the environment. So in this case, it's just the first 5. But if you want to export everything out, you can go ahead and do that. So for our example, the first thing you can do, you'll see there's some mailbox sizing and item counts. So the first thing you can go ahead and do, and I'll do that for everybody, is we can go ahead and do what's called Discover Statistics. So this is going to go out, check the environment, right? Pull in the mailbox sizes, things like that, so we know how much data we're looking at. So go ahead and execute that. It's going to confirm that for 5 mailboxes. We'll go ahead and hit confirm, and you'll see they'll drop into in progress. So if we go up here to the refresh button, you'll see some will probably start being discovered. So here's one. It's got 4.6 gigs, 3,400 files, right? We start refreshing it, see where the other ones are along the process. So we got all those are kind of chugging along. Our actual test user looks like it's still pending, right? So we'll give that one a few seconds. He's got about 1,200, yes. He's got 1,200 demo files that we loaded in. So he's over here in discovered view. So now that we have a mailbox discovered, we can go ahead and start a migration for them. And essentially, right, we have a couple options down here. Start migration obviously starts the content. Stopping a migration will pause it where it is, right? So whatever item or message we've gotten up to that point, we'll go ahead and actually freeze it so you can go ahead and resume it later on. And then reset a migration basically just resets the database, so we start essentially as if we had just discovered a mailbox. And then archive at this point doesn't do anything. It just basically marks it as archived, but the idea would be once a mailbox is completed, you can archive it and it would disappear from here unless you want to see archived mailboxes. So that's the idea about it, but it hasn't been implemented yet. So we'll go ahead and start for our test user. So we'll go ahead and hit confirm. So you'll see it switches to in progress view. So at which point on the back end, it's now spinning up a migration job for this particular mailbox using those source environments that we picked. So one of the things you'll notice as well, right, is when we edit a user, I can now pick from those environments that we had set up. All right, so if I want to change the credentials or what's being used to actually talk to the environment, we can go ahead and do that. So that's go ahead and running. We're going to actually minimize this, and you should see messages starting to trickle in here from the source environment, right? So messages are being loaded. There's still a couple things that I'm still working out, right? So as mail's being migrated from source to target, you'll notice a few things, right? The timestamp is current, right? So we're not resetting the metadata for the timestamp. And while we are copying the attachments, right now the way that the process is working is the attachment's actually in the mailbox. It's just not being associated with the actual message. So that's the one piece that we have to go ahead and get working. As you can see, the recipients and all that stuff come over just fine. In this case, I had sent it to myself, but those all come over fine. And the message will start to slowly trickle in as the process is kind of ongoing. So that's just kind of quick, a quick little demo of the environment and these messages as they start coming over. You know, we'll process that list through, and everything will start to magically move its way in the background until it's completed, in which case then it will be marked as complete in the system. So we'll go back. Right now it's not the quickest, right, because there's some throttling issues and things like that. If I tried to move too much at any given point in time, there's some back off issues that I am trying to figure out the best way to address. The process works, everything functions, but obviously there's some optimizations and things I'd like to do in the next round. So that's kind of where I'm at today. But it's a fully functioning product, and I'm hoping to make some additional enhancements to it in the future. Just to kind of show you another little thing, if you want to add a user, it's just this matter of putting in new user at sourcetenant.com, and it's going to be from demo environment, and new user at target tenant.com, and it's going to be from our demo tenant. Obviously, the other stuff will get initialized as the job gets created, and you'll see they'll start off as a not started state, in which case we can go ahead and discover those. So again, we can edit them. We can go ahead and delete them from here as well, in which case we'll get back to the progress window. And then there's an about page that kind of goes over a little bit about how the platform works. It's got some different FAQ style things as well. And overall, it's a pretty solid first React project for me, and I look forward to seeing what I can do with it in the future. Right, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully you enjoyed the demo, and feel free to ask any questions.